Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. Today it's time to get my Serie A hat on, the unbiased hat, and do our 2024-25 Serie A team of the season until now. Most of the teams in Serie A pretty much have played 19 games, so we are at the halfway point, so it's a good time to make our team. I have used stats to back up my reasoning, but these players were picked by what my eye saw, the eye test approval, and I only took into account Serie A form, not what they did in Europe or what they did with their national team. And before we get into the team, disclaimer, Juve fans, I have zero, that's right, zero Juve players in this team, and I promise there is no bias involved in this. As the video goes on, I will explain my reasonings. So before we get into it, make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's go. Kicking things off from the back, of course, is the goalkeeper position. I think it was a pretty easy decision here. It is David De Gea, the rise from the ashes of David De Gea. It has been a great comeback story this year, coming back from a year of inactivity. And at times at the beginning, he looked a bit rusty, but as the season has gone on, he's been more and more impressive, and he might have an argument of being the most in-form goalkeeper in Europe at the moment. You can see on this chart how he ranks statistically at the moment compared to other keepers in Europe. I've circled other Serie A goalkeepers there too, where you can see De Gea stands on his own. He's been outstanding. Not to take anything away from Fiorentina's season, but I think they would have a few less points if it wasn't for David De Gea's heroics. Especially remember the game where he saved 2 penalties against Milan. That's why for me he's going to be the only Fiorentina player in this team. Honorable mentions, of course, to the usual suspects like Zomer at Inter, underrated as always. Meret for Napoli has kind of rediscovered the Scudetto winning form from a couple seasons back. Di Gregorio, Carne Secchi for Atalanta, looks like he's finally living up to the hype as well. From the lower teams, Milinkovic-Savic for Torino, always solid. Stankovic finally overtook Joronen as a starting goalkeeper for Venezia, and he has been very good. And Leali for Genoa, who stepped in for the injured Golini, has also been impressive. Now let's get to the defense. I've opted for a 4-man defense. And get your tomatoes out, I've committed a cardinal sin here. I've shoehorned a left back at right back just because I had to get him in. Why? Well, it's because there's been 2 outstanding left backs in the league this season, and none of the 2 could be left out. First of all, Nuno Tavares, the guy that I've shoehorned in at right back, has to be in. He has been spectacular for Lazio, especially for the first few months. He was completely unstoppable. He took the league by storm. He was even the top assister in the whole of Europe at one point, and he still is the top assister in Serie A at the moment. And as of now, he's averaging 0.69 GA per 90, which is absolutely crazy for a left back. And he's improved defensively compared to his previous stints at Marseille and Arsenal. And on the left side, I've picked who I think most Interisti believe to be our player of the season up until now, which is Federico Di Marco. I can confidently say the best left wing back in Europe this year. He has been honest since match day 1. He's been a chance creation machine. You can see standing on his own in the top 7 leagues in Europe for all kinds of key metrics: crosses, assists, expected assists, touches, passes to penalty area. And why shouldn't he? He has a wand of a left foot and he's making good use of it this year. Could there have been actual right backs in this team? Maybe, you know, Di Lorenzo definitely has returned to good form now under Conte at Napoli. He looked like he was dusted, especially in the summer with Italy. So he deserves a shout. Cambiaso for Juve, even though, you know, he plays all over the place, he deserves a shout too. But apart from that, I really didn't see too many outstanding candidates, so I kind of shoehorned in Tavares for this one. A centre-back, I've gone for the Italian duo of Bastoni and Buongiorno. Bastoni's almost taken for granted now. Defensively, he's more solid than he's ever been, and of course, with the ball, he's still one of the best in the world, if not the best in his position. For Inter, Pavard's had a bit of a drop in form, and Acerbi's had his injury issues, but Bastoni has been the most reliable and consistent centre-back for Inter this season. Late shout for De Vrij, who has stepped in fantastically for Acerbi recently as well. Next to him, Buongiorno. We knew in the summer when Napoli shelled out 35 million euros for him that he was going to be worth every penny, and he has been. I think all big clubs in Italy would have loved to be able to spend 35 million for him. And Napoli are the best defense in the league this season, and he is a big reason why. He has actually had a few mistakes a few times that I watched him, but he hasn't been punished for it, so I'll let him off for that now. But aside from that, he's been absolutely fantastic. Honorable mentions for this category: Mario Hila from Lazio. Lazio have been having a great season until now. Hila has been one of the better players for Lazio for sure. Isaac Keane at Atalanta. Is he going to be the next big plusvalenza for Atalanta? Comuzzo for Fiorentina, 19-year-old, has been very, very impressive. I'm keeping an eye on him for Inter maybe, but of course for the Italian national team's future. It reminds me of Buongiorno a little bit. And then the Juve guys, Gatti and Kalulu, definitely deserve a shout. It's very close that none of those 2 made it in because Bremer's injury, who I think is the best centre-back in the league, ACL out for the season. These two had to step in and they've done it very, very well. And if I made this team maybe a few weeks ago, Ismaili from Empoli definitely would have made it. Empoli started off the season on fire, especially defensively, and Ismaili was one of the main reasons for it, and he's probably going to get a big move because of that. Now let's get into the more spicy categories. Midfield, and actually this one I want to start off with the honorable mentions first. For Lazio, Guendouzi and Rovella have been great. Rovella especially, who's also now part of the Italian national team under Spalletti, deservedly. The Fiorentina boys, Cataldi and Adli, have done really, really well. Even Bove before his unfortunate situation that happened against Inter. And depending where you want to place him, Nico Paz for Como has been almost carrying Como on his back. He's been so impressive, and there's a reason why Inter and other big teams are linked to him. No room for Hakan this time. He has been good, but not to his usual standards, and he's had a few injury issues, unfortunately. And again, the Juve guys, Kefren Thuram, Locatelli deserve a shout. Thuram has been more of a recent rise in form. Locatelli probably even deserves a spot in this team, but I don't think he's at the highs of some of the other players in this list. And here are the three players that I've picked from a midfield three. At the base of a midfield, it had to be Ederson from Atalanta. We need to have an Atalanta player in here. He has become such a good all-round midfielder. I was a fan of him since the Salernitana days, but now he's just added so many different facets to his game. Breaking a play, no problem. Aerial duels, easy work. Carrying the ball, creating, scoring goals even, no problem. 2 goals, 1 assist. Maybe Atalanta's most vital player in terms of the balance. I think the big Premier League teams are going to come in for this guy very, very soon, unfortunately. Next up, Niccolò Barella, another Inter player that's maybe taken for granted now, but he is one of the best players in his position in Europe. Last year, he had a bit of an off year. If you didn't know, he had some off-the-field issues personally that affected his performances, but this year we've seen him return to really high levels consistently. He's already at 3 goals and 4 assists, and when it comes to key metrics, you can see no midfielder has more key passes, through passes, assists, passes to penalty area, crosses to box than Barella this season. And then in the other mezzala position, it has to be Tijani Reinders. The fact that a Milan player makes this team shows you how good TG has been. 2 summers ago, I made a video talking about how Tijani Reinders was going to be one of the signings of the season. I think I was 1 season too early. This guy is the complete package. So classy on the ball carrier, but most importantly, final product. This year, he's already got 5 goals and 3 assists just in Serie A. I wish Inter had him. Now, let's finish up with the striker position. 3 up top, probably the easiest picks of the whole team because there hasn't really been too many standout attackers, so the decisions kind of pick themselves. First up, of course, Ade Mura Lukman, African Player of the Year. This season, he's taken his game to another level. Still continue to offer his dribbling, creative abilities, but now he's adding more and more goals to his game. He's already at 9 goals and 5 assists. And when you think he's just played over 1,000 minutes, that's an amazing return. His partner in crime up front, Atalanta, Charles De Ketelaere, probably deserves a shout too. I've heard even some Atalanta fans saying that he might be having a better season than Lukman overall, but for me, Lukman is more impactful. But the other Atalanta forward that does make the list is, of course, Matteo Retegui, who is joint top scorer alongside Thuram with 12 goals. I always knew that he was a great goal scorer, but he's really added more to his game now. He's become an all-rounded striker. And then next to him, it had to be Marcus Tikus Thuram. His goals have come in bunches, I will give you that, but without them, where would Inter be? And even if he's not scoring, his hold-up play has just gone to the next level. He's improved his aerial play, and you know, with Lautaro being completely out of form still to this day, he's had to step up, and he has to continue playing like this if Inter want to retain the Scudetto again. And finally, coach of the season up until now, it was really close for me between Gasperini and Conte. Conte for reviving a Napoli that finished 10th, you know, there was absolute chaos going on there. It might look easy what he's done now, but how solid Napoli look right now, that is all thanks to Conte's coaching. But I think I'm going to edge it just to Gasperini because they had a difficult summer, Atalanta. The Scamacca ACL, Scalvini ACL, Lukman put in a transfer request to PSG. They needed to sign defenders and they were leaking goals at the beginning of the season, but since September they've been absolutely flying, and for the first time in Atalanta's history they are mounting a Scudetto challenge. Of course, big credit goes to Baroni at Lazio and Palladino Fiorentina for what they've done at their clubs until now. D'Aversa Empoli deserves big credit too, and of course Inzaghi, just like the other Inter players we mentioned, taken for granted, but Simone Inzaghi, of course, to me, best coach in Serie A in general. Anyway, that was my team of the season until now. I want to hear your team of the season. Goalkeeper, defense, midfield, attackers, coach. Where do you agree with me? Where do you disagree with me? Have I made some clangers? Have I made some mistakes? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you on the next one. Ciao ragazzi, forza Serie A.